Welcome to Martha Runs the World, a podcast with a new take on running, fitness, and all things health-oriented. I'm Martha Hughes, your host, and each week I present a new topic that is of interest to all runners. Welcome to episode 132 of Martha Runs the World. Thank you for joining me today. I have one question for you. What were you doing when you were 20 years old? I can tell you what I was doing, and it wasn't anything productive. I didn't know what the world was about. I didn't know what I was about. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. It took me a long time to figure that out. I'm still figuring it out, and I'm quite a bit older. My guest today is 21 years old. He's an ultrarunner. He has finished and done quite well in many really tough races. I'm going to tell you, he's extraordinary. He's not a normal runner. He's a great runner. At 20 years old, he finished in 17th place, the Cocodona 250-mile race, which is not a normal race. It is a crazy, wild, intensely difficult race. And at 20 years old, before he could legally drink alcohol, he finished this race in 17th place. He knows what he wants. He's extremely intelligent. He's a very, very nice guy and just very thoughtful. Before I say anything else, here's Stefan Fiandeiro. Will you welcome to the program ultra runner, Santa, and IPA enthusiast, and the youngest guest I've had on this show, Stefan Fiandeiro. Hi, Stefan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. I'm very excited to have you on. Our mutual friend, Dan, suggested having you on. I thought that was just a great suggestion, and I said yes. So
he's the connector man in the Bay Area trail running. I feel like anybody I want to get to know, Dan's like, and we're talking about Dan Aspermonte's, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, no, I'm Facebook friends with them. Oh, I crewed them here.
He's one of the show's greatest fans. He's a super fan. So we love him dearly. Yeah, shout out to Dan. We love him dearly. So I want to talk to you about when you started running. How did that begin?
I had always, I think from a young age, really just enjoyed running, the free flow, the feeling of the wind, all of that. And growing up, my dad would run a couple, sometimes just one, but sometimes a couple half marathons every year. And we would go watch him at the finish line. And it was so cool. And when I was 12, I did my first half marathon, and I loved it. It was fantastic. The energy at the start and everything, and finishing, and just, so my first couple years were running a lot of half marathons. And then when I was 14, I ran the LA marathon. But after that, I was kind of done with roads. The road running scene is awesome in terms of like the electricity and the numbers of people that do it. So it can be really cool in its own right. And of course I would love to do Boston or New York or Berlin one day. But that same year, actually in December of 2014, my dad and I did our first trail 50K, the Woodside 50K. And that just had me hooked. Going back actually a little bit, that same year that I did my first half marathon, my best friend's dad ran Western, and he dropped at the river. But that experience and following him and seeing his bib number come through all the aid stations, that was so cool. That was so inspiring. It just kind of opened up this whole new world of running I didn't really know about. And so I think I had always wanted to kind of branch out into that. But so we spent a couple years doing the road stuff. And then once I did my first 50K, we just started building up. I did American River 50 miler. That was my first 50, and then did that a couple years. And what was my first 100K was Quicksilver 100K. So hometown for sure. And that was brutal. But I nearly just passed out at the end there. That was crazy. That was probably my worst finish. But then, got my first 100 in when I was 17 at Zion. And I've done 14, 15, 100 plus races since then. So mostly hundreds. And then I've done Bigfoot and Cocodona.
Right. Well, how did your parents make sure that you were doing it safely at such a young age?
Well, pretty much every race I've done with, my dad. In the early years, we would run a lot of them actually together. But usually I would take off anyway. But I did like all the training with my dad. So it was kind of always like a team effort for sure. Definitely all the training, and then the races I would just run ahead. But I've always been pretty good about taking care of myself during races, except like with the exception of Quicksilver and 1 year at Pioneer Spirit when I got really bad heat exhaustion. I've been pretty good about taking care of myself during the races. So and then I think just building up slowly. Like if you build up, and the way we built up I thought was really smart, taking each new race distance and just building up slowly like that. It just allows you to have that base and have that experience. And I don't think they were too worried at any point. I know actually my first 50K, I was 14, and obviously I took off from my dad, and my mom said if I wasn't with my dad, I had to text her every 5 miles, and it was quite funny. I remember other people just kind of joking about that in the race, but after that, I never had to do that again. But it was just getting used to the sport, and just developing that experience.
Right.
I almost think it's good. I don't know. I see like the last I met you at San Lorenzo, and there was a 13-year-old running the 50K there.
Oh wow.
And he was also running with his dad. But I think it's I don't know. I think it's cool. I think you can start young. You just have to put in that training, and obviously make sure you're not, pushing your body or affecting the development of your body in any way. But I don't think so.
Right.
I'm a little crazy in the head, but I don't think I
Right.
destroyed my body.
No, and I don't think you did it too young either. That's a good age, when in your teens, I think is pretty good. And also if it's something that you want to do and not something that
Yes.
your parents want you to do, that's
Yes.
that's the most important part.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that.
Well, yeah, of course. No, because
You're not
you love it. So you're
driving me up the hill there. No.
Exactly.
yeah.
Because you can tell in your voice and your passion for it that it's what you love. I can tell that right away. And you can tell when you see, kids not so much running, because there really isn't a lot of that, but you can see that, in soccer games and things like that, the parents
Right.
who push their kids to do it, the kids don't really want to do it. And you can always tell those kind of parents. But no, definitely not with you. You have a passion for it for sure.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my goodness, you finished Bigfoot 200 when you were 19, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How did you qualify for that race?
Well, they actually, I believe Candace only had qualifiers for the first couple years they had the 200s.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, it was like they wanted you to have done like a mountainous 100 over, 15,000 feet of gain or whatever, or 2 non-mountainous hundreds. But I think that was only for the first couple years. So when I did Bigfoot, they didn't have qualifiers, but they were very much like, it's up to you to, be prepared for this and to understand that this is certainly a graduate level race. And, I did really well. I don't necessarily know if I had, I guess I had enough experience because I did well, but I feel like I got, I feel like I could have done more beforehand. But I think what was really good was, at the time I had signed up for it, I'd only done 100. I'd done Zion. But in the training leading up to it, we found 100 at the end of June. So Bigfoot's early August, generally like the second weekend of August. And that was Old Cascadia 100 up in Oregon, which had 25,000 feet of gain. So Bigfoot somewhere in the mid 40s. So that was perfect. That was, it took me a long time, maybe 33, 34 hours. And that was really good prep for Bigfoot. And I just made sure to put in the training, I think I did 1 week. I got off work for the 4th of July week. And so I just did like 8 hours a day of just being out on the trails, that time on feet. And so I'd say I was pretty trained. I could have maybe had some more race experience, but I think I was ready for it. Yeah. And that's kind of what Candace, I think, wants, they want you to be individually ready for it, but they're not going to necessarily put like qualifiers on it or bounds on it, because I don't know, everybody can kind of come from their own background and kind of know thyself, like know your limits, I guess, is the hope. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but it's such a difficult race. I mean, they want people who are going to be able to they want a good percentage to finish the race for sure.
Yeah. So I don't. It's kind of up to you. I guess their philosophy is that they're not really, 200s are so different than hundreds.
Yeah.
Immensely different. And it's kind of difficult, regardless of a person's experience, to really judge whether they're going to succeed at a 200-mile mountainous race.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of like X factors that help you finish a 200 that don't necessarily come into play in 100. So.
Yeah, that's true. So now recently you finished, well, in May, you started talking about the Cocodona 250 or 265 or whatever it was. They call it 250, but
255 in total,
255. Yeah, I know that. I know it was over 250 miles.
Yeah.
So, wow. So why did you sign up for that, or how did you find out about that race?
I think someone sent me their like announcement video, and that would have been a year before they were going to do it. So that would have been like May 2020, amidst the real, everybody's kind of scared about COVID and everybody's, inside their homes. And it just looked so epic. The course is like connecting Phoenix to Flagstaff. And I think you go through like 7 towns or something, like 7 historic towns. And it just looked so epic. And it, for those long distances, you really want to be drawn to the race. You really want to be like, this is like, I really want to do this. And I felt the same way about Cocodona, signing up for Cocodona, that I'd felt about Bigfoot. It was like, that race that kind of gives you that, it kind of makes you feel scared again. It kind of makes you feel like, I don't know if like I'll be able to complete this, it's going to really bring me to some dark places. And that feeling was, I was like, I got to do this, so I think that's why. And it just looks so epic. And I mean, it lived up to every, it blew the expectations out of the water for sure.
Yeah. What now was that? How much harder was that than Bigfoot, or was it?
I would say infinitely. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
I called it. Yeah, I think I called it Bigfoot on steroids when I was speaking to Rob from Aravaipa. I think that's a very accurate assessment of it. I spoke to a lot of other racers who had done the Triple Crown, or done, a few 200s, or done even multi-days, on the road, like Heart of the South or Vol State. And I mean, it's just like every difficult aspect you could have of these long races was present in Cocodona. It's not just the distance, it's not just the elevation, which was like in the order of 40,000, but it was just, it was just dusty. It was just so hot during the days and it would get super cold at night. Luckily it did, I'm just kind of a warm body. Other people got really cold. I didn't get too cold, but it was just everything. The altitude, I just all of that, it just really like I did really well, but it definitely really wrecked me. Like more so than Bigfoot. And not just like my legs, but just like mentally, and so much more happened. I think just like with my body that I had never experienced before. Like one thing that totally was, I still don't really have an explanation for it. I think it was just the dry environment with the altitude and whatnot, but my tongue was totally cut up by the last day.
Wow.
And eating was like really difficult. And that took like probably a week to get back to normal. My lips were like half black because of all the blood that was caked on them just from being so chafed. And it was wild. It was wild. It's just so hard. I don't know if you can pin it on one particular thing, but it's so hard. It was so much harder than Bigfoot. And I was a lot more prepared for this race.
Wow, so maybe it's all the dust and everything like that, or just that you're breathing
I think
in.
so. I think a combo of that and the altitude and the dry environment all together.
Wow. Yeah. And you pass through so many different environments. I mean, you start out on the hill, that one part what is that? I've forgotten the name of the town. What is it? Black Hill or
yeah, you start in Black Canyon City.
Black Canyon
City. Then the first 30 miles you're climbing up Lane Mountain.
Oh my gosh. That just killed what, like a third of the runners, just all of a sudden,
a good portion.
Boom, they're gone.
Yeah, well, that was because I don't think the race organizers necessarily knew, or if they knew that, I don't think they made it as clear as they could have, like how difficult that first 50K would be. Because between the first and second aid station, you had like 22 miles.
That's a long ways between aid stations.
Long ways, but with maybe 8,500 feet of gain.
Oh God.
And like 4,000 feet of descent. So just going up and down and totally exposed. I ran out of water probably like 5 miles from the last, the next aid station. And I was doing pretty good compared to a lot of the people I saw just, crawled up under the one rock on this hill, it was pretty brutal. Yeah. It took a while to get rid of the dehydration and start peeing regularly.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
That's nasty. I know what that's like to go 5 or 6 miles without water in the heat. Yeah. And it just, oh my God, you feel like you're going to die. That is just nasty. So what do you prefer running in, hot or cold?
I like, this is going to sound funny after I just described that, but I like the heat. I like the heat because I think I can handle it a lot better than other people handle the heat. And, I do a lot of heat training pretty regularly, running in layers and whatnot, just always being ready for the heat. But then wearing like the Santa hat too also helps with that because I just can't release the heat from my head.
Right.
Like during the race, I'll put like some ice in it and whatnot. But I do really well in the heat compared to other people for sure. But like, I certainly like that for races. I think it's nice, when it's hot. But I would love to try some really colder races. I'd love to do like some of the winter ultras. That's kind of, I think, on the horizon. Doing like a Tuscobia or an Arrowhead or a Drift, like that type of race would be awesome. So, I kind of just want to do all of them, but I definitely do really well in the heat. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and you get a lot of practice. You live in the South Bay, right? Mm-hmm. In San Jose. Yeah, you get a lot of practice in that heat down there for sure.
Yeah.
So now, well, first of all, I want to wish you a happy birthday because you had your 21st birthday this month, right?
Yeah. 2 weeks ago.
Excellent.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
Excellent.
Fun
Excellent.
to be legal now,
Yay. Well, very good. Very good. That's all downhill from now, right? You know that,
Ah,
right?
yeah, I've hit my peak. I've hit my peak. Nothing, can be better than this, I guess.
Well,
So
fortunately for distance runners, actually, you've got a little ways to go to hit your peak. So you're
yeah.
just getting started. So now I have to ask, for those who don't know, Stefan, now you don't do it in the really long races, but like in 50Ks, you run a Santa suit. And I remember when I saw you, when I met you at the San Lorenzo River 50K, you were wearing the Santa suit. So, and you ran the whole 50K in a Santa suit, 31 miles in a Santa suit, which I don't know
Yes.
anyone else who does that. So
Yeah.
why is the
Why
first
this?
question I want to ask. Why do you do it?
Yeah, just a minor caveat on that. I've done one race in the full Santa suit, which was San Lorenzo.
Oh, really? Oh, that's the only one you've done it in.
That's the only
Really?
one I've done in the
Oh
full
my
Santa
gosh.
suit.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I should say that.
Oh, see,
Um,
I thought you did a bunch of them in them. Okay. Well,
yeah. I do every race in the Santa hat.
and the Santa hat. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, wow. Well, how did that go with the suit on?
It wasn't as bad as I expected.
Okay.
I had to keep it open, so it's more like a cape, or like a fur coat. But it was fun. And the only difficult part was crossing the river and not getting it wet.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
hold it up. But no, it was such a blast, and I'll have to do it again for the other 50Ks and the shorter races, just because people really get a kick out of it. It's really fun.
Well, when it's not
But
too
no,
hot, when it's not too warm,
yeah,
when it's a little colder.
it's like, again, I think the heat, like if you're trained for the heat and you can manage it well and you take care of yourself,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's that,
That's a
it's
good
not like
point.
easy to run in the heat, but you can manage it. This Santa hat though, the Santa hat I wear for every race, and it started the first full race I ran it in was Coldwater Rumble 100 in January of this year.
Okay.
And I did it, I'd been wearing it through December just for fun, leading up to Christmas, but it just changed the mentality of the races for me. It more than anything, it just keeps me in the right headspace, just in this like fun space of just, this isn't a competition. Like, this is more like a celebration and should just be fun, and we should just kind of express ourselves. And I think it's all of that. And I love Christmas, and I love how it seems like every year for like a week in December, everybody's just so nice to each other. And if you can just recreate like a little bit of that by doing something like wearing a Santa hat, it's awesome. And I think it just keeps me in a good headspace, and it seems to bring a lot of joy to other people. So I will keep doing it for the foreseeable future. I don't want to not run in the Santa hat. So, but I've gotten some, this is some inside information. I've gotten a couple Santa shirts now. So for the longer races, I'll have a modified costume where I won't have to wear the Santa suit, but I'll be in full Santa gear. So
neat.
yeah.
See, I love it. And you got so much response during Cocodona. And when I was watching, I have Mondays and Tuesdays and half of Wednesday off. I work in urgent care, so I have weird hours. But so I was able to watch like 2.5 days of the race on YouTube when they were going live, and they showed you with your hat and everything. And the response in the chat was just unreal. People loved it. People absolutely loved it. And they were cheering you on. They just absolutely thought it was the greatest thing. So it's really cool. It really just brought a lot of joy and just a lot of fun. And we thought it was great. So that was cool. You had a lot of fans.
Yeah. It was really nice. It was really special, and they interviewed me at a few of the aid stations, and it was just cool. Like the whole element of the live stream and having people that were kind of watching it that you didn't know, but were really invested in it and invested in your success, I think made the race so much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And like pretty fulfilling, I've gotten some like messages after the race, from people that were following my journey, and it's like inspirational to see other people inspired by you. And yeah, it was awesome. I couldn't have asked for anything more. Yeah. It was really cool.
It was very cool. I really enjoyed it. The whole thing. I enjoyed the whole race and all the stories and everybody and the Santa hat. That was great. So what advice do you give to runners who are just starting out?
I think the most important thing when you're just starting out is to have fun. It sounds so simple and almost cliche, I think, but you want to enjoy what you're doing. And if you start out and you're like, I'm going to run 100 and I'm just going to run 100. Now I'm going to train for this and I don't care how much it hurts. And, I don't think that's necessarily the best approach. I think you want to be really enjoying everything you're doing and to do it out of love. And that's when you get that prime experience, is when you're doing it out of a passion. And so I think a component of that is building up slowly and really building a great aerobic base, but also just slowly building your mind and your soul to really embrace it and enjoy it and just to grow. So I think taking that kind of approach long term will make the whole sport more enjoyable and just, I think, improve your success too. I think you'll do so much better when you start from that kind of base and from that kind of philosophy than if you go into it like, I want this time or I want this distance. Like, I think that's just not the best way to look at it. I think people maybe that come from like a road racing background think a lot in terms of time or training volume or completion of this or that, but it's not about that. It's about the trail speaking to you and you speaking back.
And that's true.
The art of it more than anything else. So
that's true. Sometimes you have to just put everything away and just listen to all the sounds and just enjoy it.
Yeah. So
have you done any multi-day adventures on your own?
Ooh.
Or any fast packing or anything like that?
No. Yeah, the only thing I could think like that would kind of fit into that category is I did 48 hours on a treadmill.
Oh my gosh, that's right. I forgot about that. Oh my goodness, how did that go?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, I way outperformed my expectations. I did like 157 miles.
Wow.
And I think I'm gonna make that an annual thing. It was so tough.
Oh yeah.
It was just like a real mental battle to just kind of keep going. So I'd love to do that, like, kind of like my long-term goal. I'd love to just do that for a week, see how many I could run in a week on a treadmill. Wow. Just basically live on the treadmill. So that's kind of a fun little experiment. Yeah.
Well, how did you keep yourself going, entertained?
Well, I really love, we have so much great content now on YouTube, like all these documentaries and interviews and whatnot. So I queued up like a couple hundred of those, but sometimes you just get bored with that. So sometimes you just run and just kind of let your mind just float off into the ether. Sometimes listening to music, and I don't know actually how I entertain myself that long. But we'll see. I'm going to do it for sure, at least again this December. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah. What's the wildest story the trail story that you can share with us?
The wildest trail story.
Yeah. or encounter or animal encounter or what experience have you had on the trail that is probably the wildest that you can think of?
Huh. I don't know. I've been, lucky, or I guess you could say unlucky, depending on how you look at it, to not see or not encounter cougars or bears or anything on the trail so far. I think the craziest stuff would just be like the insane hallucinations I've gotten during Bigfoot in Cocodona. Bigfoot, the second night at Bigfoot, I'd never done anything really like it, and I never really been into, a second night on the trail with basically no sleep. And it was very funny. I remember the trail just, do you know Candyland, like the board game? It's kind of like for kids. Yeah. The trail turned completely into Candyland.
Oh my God. That's
I could see like Pepper Stick Lane or whatever, and this over there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to sleep. But it was quite funny. That was kind of funny, and that was the same night. I've never done this before, and I've never done this since. But my dad was pacing me, and there was a good 2-mile road section that we did, and I apparently had a conversation with him for a good 20-30 minutes, but I have no recollection of it. I just remember waking up at the end and being like, oh, sorry, Dad, I didn't catch that. I was sleeping.
Oh my gosh.
Walking down this road, which is so wild to me. It's so weird how your body can just be like, yo, I need to take a break here. But you keep moving forward and you just it's just weird. I felt pretty refreshed and we just kind of kept going. But yeah, very odd. At Cocodona, I didn't have the crazy. I feel like I had worse hallucinations overall at Bigfoot. I definitely felt more drowsy and sleepy on Cocodona the third night than I did at Bigfoot. But the craziest thing was that the last night, that would have been I want to say Thursday night. I was coming down off Mount Eldon, so you have this big climb up, to the peak of Mount Eldon, and then you come down and you come into Flagstaff. And when you're coming off the mountain and you're connecting, you're using these little connector trails to get back to town, you go through this big, I think it's Buffalo Park. And I remember running through that and seeing all of these eyes all of a sudden. And I was like, what is going on?
Oh my God.
So I didn't know if I was hallucinating or whatnot. And so I kind of, I shake my head, close my eyes, do everything. I look around and I still have all these eyes and they're all around me in a circle. And I'm like, I swear I'm being surrounded by wolves. I was convinced. I was
God.
And I was like, maybe they're coyotes. Maybe it's not going to be a problem. So I just kind of keep going. And then the one in front of me starts walking up and I'm like, oh dude, this is the alpha male. This guy is totally going to kill me. This is how it's going to go down. He's going to start running at me and I'm going to die. And I was just like, this sucks, but I was so out of it. I was just so out of it. And I remember just being like, I gotta, okay, think about this logically. What's the best course of action? And I had to use the restroom. So I did that first because, that's first and foremost, the primary responsibility. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start clanking my poles. Maybe they'll get scared and run away. And I did that. And then as these little buggers are running away, I realized they're just deer. I saw them bouncing off into the distance. And I was like, oh, they're probably just deer. And that's what I assumed they were. And I, all the eyes kind of opened up a little path for me to run through.
Or raccoons
I just ran like hell. It didn't really look back. So that was pretty scary. But I think just because I was in such a depleted state.
Yeah.
But I've never had and I don't really want to have a really crazy or close encounter with a seriously dangerous animal or person.
Yeah.
I'm sure will happen at some time in the future, but I'd prefer not to. I, running at night's a weird thing because I feel like it's one of my favorite parts of these longer races.
Yeah.
It's really fun just to run when the world is asleep and serene. But what comes with that is like, it's so weird when you run through one place, even a place at night, it's like everything becomes what's out there. Like, what can I not see beyond the shining on my headlamp? But if you ran through there in the day, it wouldn't be a problem. You wouldn't care. So it's just kind of this funny kind of back and forth where it's like, yeah, this, running through the day, I wouldn't have a problem in this section. So you just kind of have to rationalize it in that way. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy. I'm sorry if I disappointed.
Oh, but... no, that's a great story. It was probably deer or raccoons. They're always out there and they're always looking at you. If anytime you think that something's staring at you, it's probably a raccoon.
Yeah, no, it's possible. I think it was deer based off the way they kind of bounded off. But I don't know.
Probably
just a grand hallucination.
Yeah. I know that when I've been stared at anytime in the woods at night, it's like a raccoon.
Yeah.
It's always, I remember one time my friend and I were manning the aid station in the headlands.
Yep.
Right there. And it was the aid station next to down at the parking at the parking lot right next to the bridge as you go down on the SCA trail.
Right.
And it was really kind of cold and windy. So we put the stuff out and just we're waiting in the car for the runners. First came out were red foxes. It was all the animals came out. Red foxes came out because we had food and they were looking around for food. And then we just chased them away. But then like a couple hours later, the raccoons came out. It was like all the animals came out in shifts. They had all shifts. Each one had like their job shifts came out at the end.
Yeah, their unions had worked it out.
Exactly. Then the raccoons. Then last where the coyotes came out after everybody else. The coyotes came out. It was crazy. What a crazy night because this was a night run and we had to stay out there till like 2 a.m. And it was just wild, all the animals that came out because, of course, there were food, so they were going to come out. It was wild how many animals there were.
That too, like, thank God to all the, big props to all the volunteers for these long races too.
Oh,
I think they don't get enough recognition.
No, they don't.
People that have been in like an aid station for like a day, because some of these ones, at the end of Cocodona, like Mike would have gone through them 50 hours before the last person went through them. So it's just kind of crazy to think about, how long these aid stations have to be out there and you need all this support. And so it's good to recognize that too. So
and some of them are just so amazing. Just the special treats and things they put out for the runners. It's just such the loving care that they they put into it.
Yeah. I remember going the aid station that kind of sticks out was I think it was Turkey Butte. It must have been like 195 miles, maybe something like that. And we show up, and that was when I was like really sleepy, and I was running with my brother. This is Cocodona, and they were like, "We have the best potato soup." And up to this point,
oh my goodness,
every time we had potato soup, it was like over salted or over spiced, or it just didn't taste right. And I was like, I was not having it. I was like, you know what? Let me try a cup of your potato soup. And it just hit the spot. And I was like, yeah, you guys cooked this with love. It was like, it was just perfect. That was one of my favorite aid stations for sure.
There was one at Sedona that had tacos, I remember, on Tuesday.
Yes,
that was cool.
Dead Horse. When I went through there, it would have been the early morning hours of Cinco de Mayo. That's why they were doing it. Yeah.
They look delicious. They looked really delicious.
Tacos. Yeah, that was probably actually the section I was the most out of it on. That was like 130 something. And I remember coming in there and I had slept 15 minutes so far.
Oh my gosh.
For another 15-minute nap. And my dad said that, after that 15-minute nap, and I just remember just being I was just like in a haze. And he said I took over an hour basically to like put my shoes on and like get my pack ready. I was just like just in this weird dilapidated state and just like could not execute simple motor functions. And so it was just weird. And it's so sad because everybody was like, "Oh, I had a margarita and I had these steak tacos," and I was like, "Dude, I didn't even know there was a taco option." I think I had a Sonic cheeseburger.
Oh my gosh!
Fell on the little mattress we had in the car. It was just, oh man, it was horrible.
Oh, well. So now, what are you training for now?
Now, what am I training? Well, I got, I have Siskiyou 100K
cool.
in a little bit next Saturday, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of the immediate. But the kind of next 100 that I'm really putting my effort into is Cool Moon 100. Nice. August 15.
Nice.
And last year I did really well there. Last year I got 5th overall, 4th male. And that's where I kind of figured out, I was like, yeah, I'm really good in the heat. When I train for the heat, plus just my natural adaptability to the heat, I love that race because it's constantly over 100 degrees up there in August in Auburn. And so that's kind of like the big goal for me. But then it will be kind of quiet after that because I go off to school. So we'll see how much I do. I'll be going off to Michigan. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So where are you going to school at then?
So I just finished up at West Valley, which is a community college, Saratoga.
Okay.
And I'm transferring to Hillsdale College.
Good for you. Oh my gosh, that's an amazing school. Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Whoa. I appreciate it. Yeah.
I'm impressed. You just impressed me. That's a hard school to get into.
Yeah. Especially so, after the pandemic, they've been, very active in keeping this whole year they were totally in person, and so people have really been flocking to it for sure. So I was really happy to get in as a transfer student because they don't have any spots for transfers. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped. Thank you.
Well done. Yeah. You have to keep us totally informed of how you're doing. That I have mad respect for that school because they don't take any donations. I mean, it's all private donations. They don't take any money from the government. So good for them. Yeah. So now I have one last question for you that I ask all my running guests. If you could do any race anywhere in the world, regardless of qualifications or money or travel or anything, what race would you do?
Oh man.
What's your dream race?
Oh man. That's so hard. Can I pick a couple?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. As we're talking about, I love the heat. I want to do Badwater.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
I want to do Badwater.
I have another one that you might want to think about doing.
Yeah. That's just kind of like, I want to do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult to describe how much I want to do it.
Yeah.
So I just want to keep building my base of lots of hundreds, lots of hot hundreds.
Definitely.
And then hopefully get on a cruise sometime soon. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
And then in like the 200 space, I want to do Tour de France.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's so brutal. I mean, like 80,000 feet of gain or whatever. It's like 2 Bigfoots rolled up in one.
Yeah.
So
with the elevation gain. Yeah. How about Marathon des Sables?
Oh yeah, I haven't considered it as much just because I've never done a stage race, and I don't know how much I would like a stage race compared to just a continuous race.
Right.
Because I feel like not that it's harder, but it's just a different format, and maybe I would love them. But I don't know. I think if I was gonna do. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I just think like it's so much funner to do the continuous. Like if I was gonna do like a long multi-day one like that, I want to, brush up on my other skills and do like an eco challenge type.
Yeah,
that would be really fun getting into the adventure racing. I think if I was going to do kind of a longer race like that.
that'd be cool.
But then kind of two on my bucket list for sure is the Iditarod.
Oh,
Do my
wow.
Iditarod 1000 for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my bucket, the crown jewel of like ultras. So I guess I'm just, I don't mean to just be name dropping.
Oh, no. I thought of you in the Tour de France. I thought of you because I knew Badwater. I said, yeah, Badwater. But then I thought Tour de France. Yeah, that's right up your alley. That is definitely.
Yeah. And having Bigfoot and Cocodona under my belt, it would just be using that kind of experience and just training for the crazy ups and downs.
Right. And you can't forget about Hard Rock either, though.
Yeah, for sure. The crazy part about Hard Rock was, I qualified with Bigfoot, and then that year they didn't have a lottery because they had canceled the race because of the snowpack. And then the second year, that Bigfoot would have qualified me for the Hard Rock lottery. Obviously, they canceled because of COVID. So my Bigfoot qualifier was never used in the Hard Rock lottery. And then I was going to do Fat Dog 120 this August, which is also a Hard Rock qualifier. And then that got canceled because, Canada's crazy with the COVID regulations. So I have, I'm back to square zero with Hard Rock qualifications, but hopefully next summer I'll do Fat Dog and get back on that train.
Cocodona doesn't qualify you for that?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Hard Rock's pretty specific about
I know. I'm being but it's like, oh, come on, you can do that. You can
right.
do that. You can do Hard Rock.
I guess on that train too, I'd really love to do Cruel Jewel at some point.
Oh yeah.
Just because that's the perfect mix of super hot, super elevation gain, just the tough 100.
Different kind of heat though. Different kind of heat.
Different kind of heat for sure. For sure. I don't know how I would hold up in that humidity for sure. But that's definitely on the bucket list too.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, I know you got lots of plans there.
Yeah. You're like, what's the one race? I don't want to do one.
No, that's all right. Well, you got lots of time. You got lots of years to do it in. So I love that. I love that your future is all, you're thinking of all these things to do. So that's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
So cool. Very inspirational, Stefan. You brought, I love your energy and I love your passion that you have. And I think the Martha Runs the World listeners definitely love it too. Well, good luck on everything. Good luck on school. And
thank you. Thank you.
And I know you'll keep us up to date on all your races, and I know you're going to rock them, whatever they are. And thank you so much for being a guest. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you for I guess Dan was the inspiration.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
But no, it's been really great chatting with you.
All right.
And I hope to see you at some of the local races. Maybe we'll be at actually I'm running the Fort Ord 25K with my mom.
Oh, there
I'm
you
gonna
go.
run lock and step with her, so that'll be really fun.
Cool.
But maybe see you at another local race.
Well, I will be out. Well, I have surgery in October, so I would say I'll probably be back running. I'm getting a hip replacement, so I will be back running again in probably December. So I'll be racing again.
Hey, come out and do Woodside. I try to do Woodside every single year.
I'll do it in the winter.
Yeah.
Do the winter run. In the winter, I'll do it again. Yeah, sure.
Woodside Ramble. Yeah. That was my first 50K, and I just have such a love for that area.
I'd like to do the half again. I've done the half before, so I'd like to do the half. I'd like to do that. That was a really fun race, so I'd like to do that again. And that's usually around my birthday in February, so I wouldn't mind doing that again.
Oh, cool.
So,
nice.
Hopefully. Yeah. All right. Well, we will talk soon. Okay.
Okay. Cheers.
Okay. Bye.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Stefan. That was really great. It was very insightful into your upbringing and your training. And I wish you the best of luck in your move to Michigan and the rest of your college education and your future. I want to see your name in lots and lots of really tough races. And I know you're going to get used to that freezing cold. I will put up a link to the 2021 Cocodona results so that people can see just how amazing your race was. Okay, next up, Tales of the Trail. This week, in Tales of the Trail, Timothy Olson and his fastest known time of the Pacific Crest Trail in his supported effort to get, well, he did get the best time, so there's that. All right. Timothy Olson finished his supported effort of the fastest known time of the Pacific Crest Trail with 51 days, 16 hours, and 55 minutes. It was a spectacular effort. I followed the whole thing through Instagram and his posts in there. It was really amazing, and I know it was really hard for him. Yes, he did have a crew helping him. I was watching this video of this one thru hiker who was doing the PCT, and he was saying how it wasn't that big of a deal and how it wasn't as hard as someone who was hiking the trail on their own. Well, hiking and running are two different things, and what Timothy Olson does and someone hiking are way two separate things. Yes, doing it on your own is pretty amazing, but doing what Timothy Olson does is pretty amazing. So I suggest that the thru hiker maybe try running, trail running, and doing what Timothy Olson does first before he talks about how easy, quote unquote, it is for Timothy Olson to do what he does. So maybe try doing what Timothy Olson does first. This thru hiker was probably just spouting his mouth off and doesn't know what he's talking about. Yes, what you're doing, hiking with a full pack, is really difficult. Yes, indeed it is. It's very, very hard. But also running as fast as Timothy Olson does is also equally hard. They're both different things. You can't really compare a grapefruit with an asparagus. Okay, they're separate things. They're both things, and they're both things to eat, but they're different. So it's really hard to compare them. And yes, they both can get records, and it's a different way to get a fastest known time. And I think they're both admirable, and one is not better than the other. One is not greater than the other. So I maybe not say, yes, this is better than the other one. No, it isn't. They're both difficult in their own right. If you hike, it's not easier at all, but it's different. I don't know. Maybe the thru hiker who was filming should try running up some of those trails sometime instead of hiking. Oh, well, I love it when people think they know something about something that they don't know. I don't know about thru hiking. I haven't done a thru hike. I don't know. So I'm not going to say that that's more difficult or it's easier, because I don't know. So maybe instead of talking about something you don't know, maybe try it first. I do know about trail running. Trail running is really, really hard. So that I do know. I don't know about thru hiking. So try both and then compare. I'm going to say that, yes, I think that's an outstanding effort by Olson. I have mad respect for him, mad respect. And I just say bravo to your effort. And that is my Tales of the Trail this week. Thanks, everyone. That is this week's Martha Runs the World. And I'm going to put a link for the Cocodona 2021 race in the website, martharunstheworld.com. All the links will be there for Patreon. If you want to give, that would be amazing. I would truly appreciate it. That will be there at martharunstheworld.com, as will everything else. And if you want to make comments, questions, or give me suggestions for future show ideas, you can at my email, martharunstheworld@gmail.com. And until next week, let's tie up our shoelaces and go for a run.